Okay, so let's cultivate our motivation. Again, really have a deep feeling of how precious my life is and how precious this opportunity is. But the preciousness of the opportunity isn't sufficient. We have to make some balanced effort to learn the Dharma and put it into practice. And so we have to listen attentively and then also discuss what we've heard with others to make sure we've understood correctly, and then put it into practice. And the reason why we are doing all of this is because we want to be happy. We want to actually understand what are the causes of happiness so we can create it. What are the causes of suffering so we can abandon them. But realizing that we are not isolated, independent entities in this world, and that we exist dependent and interdependent with everybody else. Let's not seek just our own happiness, but the happiness of all beings. And seeing that ultimate happiness is the state of a completely purified mind, a mind in which all good qualities have been enhanced. Then let's strive gently but persistently for full enlightenment in order to best benefit all others and enable them to become enlightened as well. So let's have that as our underlying motivation for listening to the teachings this evening. Okay, so let's do our teaching today. Okay, so we were talking last time about the giving part of the taking and giving meditation and how to give our body possession and virtues in general. And so we were saying that Shantideva said, I will give away without restriction my body, possessions, and the virtue I have produced in the 3 times to accomplish the welfare of all beings. So we want to give away our body, our possessions, and our virtue to all living beings for their happiness and to create the merit through which we can then become enlightened. Because we need a huge accumulation or collection of merit in order to be able to gain the realization of emptiness and to then attain full enlightenment. So we had reached the point where we were going to talk about the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, where it talks about giving away our body, possessions, and virtue. And it does this right before we take the Bodhisattva vow. So it's in chapter 3. So it says, during the intermediate eon of famine, may I become food and drink for sentient beings who are poor and famished. May I remain in their presence as various necessities. So here you're giving your body, and you're thinking that your body, we talk about the body being transformed into a wish-fulfilling body, and that's because our ordinary flesh and blood body isn't so nice to give people. It's kind of gross. So we transform it into a wish-fulfilling body. So you can imagine it as a gem or just as a special kind of body. You can imagine your one body here emanating to all the other living beings, whatever it is that they need, and they're receiving it and feeling very delighted and happy. Or you can imagine that your body makes many duplicates and you have many emanations that go out and stand in front of each of the sentient beings, and that from all these emanations of your body, then that body transforms and becomes whatever other beings need. Okay? But the point is that we really feel like we're willing to give up our body for the benefit and welfare of sentient beings. So we have to understand very well why we think of giving our body. Okay? It's not because we hate our body. It's not because we hate ourselves. It's not because we have low self-esteem. Okay? These are not good reasons for giving our body. But it's rather that we see that attachment to the body is the source of suffering for ourselves, and of course then we cause suffering to others. And because we have a very strong altruistic intention that wants to work for the benefit of others, and that sees our own self-centeredness as something that hinders our happiness, and our own attachment as something that causes problems to ourselves, then in order to overcome our self-centeredness and our attachment to our body, then we imagine giving the body and it becoming whatever other sentient beings need. Okay, so are you understanding, like, the reason why we do this and the attitude of mind with which we do this? And it's so important because we get all tangled up psychologically sometimes with our low self-esteem, and then bring all of that in and think, oh, well, I'm a worthless human being, so therefore I better give my body away because I'm worthless and my body's worthless. That's not the reason for doing this, okay? You have to be very, very clear about this. Yeah? So it's really because we seek enlightenment and we understand that self-centeredness and attachment to the body are the cause of suffering. Okay? And because we have incredible compassion that wants others to have happiness. So then you're going to say, well, me doing this visualization of giving my body isn't going to bring anybody happiness because they're still starving while I'm sitting here on my meditation cushion. That's true, but what you're doing is creating the cause so that when you have the opportunity in the future to do great works for sentient beings, you will take that opportunity and you won't be afraid. Okay? Because when you do this kind of meditation, then you overcome the fear of giving the body, you overcome fear of suffering yourself. So then when you're in front of somebody, who needs you to do even a small thing for them, then instead of getting frozen and terrified, since you've practiced giving, then you just give in a very automatic way. Okay? So it creates the potential and makes the mind stronger so that in our ordinary life nowadays we can really reach out and benefit others. And also, by imagining that our body emanates and becomes many bodies, or even that it's one body and emanates many things, we're also setting the stage for when we become high bodhisattvas, Arya bodhisattvas, when we actually will have the ability to work with the very subtle elements and manifest many different things that you actually can send out for the benefit of sentient beings. Okay? And it sets the stage for when we're actually Buddhas, where we can, manifest these things that the sentient beings who have the karma can actually receive. So we're practicing that in our visualization right now. Okay? Then Shantideva continues. This is again in chapter 3. And these verses are quite beautiful, when you really try and get your mind in the mental stage that has the kind of confidence to think, wow, I really want to do this, and may I do this? Okay. May I protect those without protection. Yeah. And be a guide leading those upon the path. May I become a vessel, a bridge, and a ship for those who wish to cross over the ocean. Yeah. So think of all the beings who lack protectors right now. You know, people who are hungry, or children whose parents have been killed, or who knows what. You know, little animals or big animals who others want to kill. And may we act as a protector for all of those to relieve their fear, you know, to enable them to live and be happy. May we be a guide leading those upon the path. So in an ordinary way, may we help anybody who's lost. Okay. You know, Americans, what we do, we don't take one step in the direction. When somebody comes up and they're lost and they want directions to where they're going, we'll tell them. You know, we'll give them 10 minutes of instructions, but we won't take one step in the direction to go with them there. Yeah. Whereas you travel sometimes in other countries, and if you ask a stranger for directions, they'll just go there with you, you know, and make sure you get there. It's quite interesting how we are. Yeah. But may we really be a guide for those who are on the, you know, need the path. So that's in a physical way. But may we also guide sentient beings who are spiritually bereft. Yeah. And you know the kind of pain that people experience when, you know, they have a spiritual yearning, but, you know, they can't even have the atmosphere and the environment to express it. You know, or they're spiritually confused and there's nobody to talk, that they can talk to, how painful that is. Or people who are on the wrong path, thinking that they're following a path that will lead to enlightenment, but they're not. Yeah, and so just think of that kind of suffering and what they're missing, and think, you know, may I become a guide for those people. You know, so may I learn the correct path and actualize the correct path myself so that I can guide them in that direction. Okay. May I be an island for those searching for land, and a lamp for those needing a light. May I become a bed for those who need rest, and a servant for those who want assistance. Okay. So can I be an island for those searching for land? You know, maybe we even turn ourselves into the physical elements, yeah, that other beings step on and walk over. But we don't care. Yeah, if they need that, may I be an island. Can I be a lamp for those who need a light? Yeah, so people where there's no electricity, yeah, maybe they're frightened and they need a light. Any kind of, you know, physical light, spiritual light, emotional light, may we provide that for those. Maybe I become a bed for those who need rest, so for people who are exhausted, people who are you know, homeless and whatever, and need a bed, may I become that bed. You know, they lie on me, they don't say thank you. Yeah, but may I become that because it benefits them. Can I become a servant for all who want assistance? Oh, we don't like that one. We'd much rather be a bed than a servant. A bed, at least we can understand why they, you know, sit on us and don't say thank you. But a servant, do we want to become a servant to anybody? We want people to become our servants. Okay. But, you know, do we really want to be a servant to anybody? Do we want, you know, when somebody says something, you know, do this or do that, do we want to just automatically do it? You know, or if somebody tells us how to improve because they're our boss, do we want to listen? No. Okay. So this one, you know, may we become a servant for all who need assistance. Think a bit about that one. You know, how do I need to change my mind so that I can actually become a servant for whoever needs a servant? Yeah. How can I make myself so that whatever somebody needs, I can become what they need, instead of trying to make them become what I think they should become, and call that me helping them. You getting the difference? Yeah? Because we usually, someone has this problem, this person has this problem, this person has this problem. They should just follow my advice, and then they'll be happy. Yeah? So we have an agenda about, how they should change so that they'll be happy, of course. It really means so that we'll be happy. But do we think about what it is that from their side they actually need in order to solve their difficulties and to actualize their potential? Yeah? We're not so good on that part of it. We're much better at trying to make people be what we want them to be. Because we're really compassionate towards them, aren't we? I mean, it's so clear they're suffering, and they should just follow our advice, because we care so much for them. We're really looking out for their benefit. So they should just, get it together and follow our advice, and then everything will be okay. Right? What happens when we try and do that at the Abbey? Yeah, it doesn't work, does it? Doesn't work. May I become accomplishing mantras and excellent vases. So this is talking about the ancient Indian beliefs in mantras that can affect different things, and special wealth vases or different vases that have power. Fabulous wish-fulfilling trees. There's the idea of a wish-fulfilling tree, or the famous money tree that can give you anything you want. We're still looking for it on 240 acres. We have many beautiful trees, though. And the great elements, such as the earth. Okay, so maybe become the great elements, earth, water, fire, and air. So earth is for solidity, water is cohesion, fire is heat, process, and air is mobility. And so may we become the elements that sentient beings' lives depend on. So here it's quite interesting. You can imagine your body dissolving into the four great elements plus the space element, because our body is composed of all these characteristics, isn't it? It has solidity and cohesion and activity, heat activity, and then mobility, So may our body just dissolve back into the four elements plus space, and may that become, everything out of which the physical world manifests that sentient beings use. And may it become all the objects that they need. Yeah? So you think about that, Can you think of your body dissolving into the four elements? We go, my body? No. My body's special. It's not just the four elements. My body has something special. Special. What does it have special? It has me. But, isn't our body just the four elements? Isn't it just atoms and molecules? That's it? You look out in the garden there, our body is the same stuff that's growing in that garden. That's why we eat it. It becomes our body. So why do we think our body is, something so special? Yeah? It's just a certain combination of, the four great elements, or if you're working in a Western model, how many organic elements do we have now? I don't even remember. I studied chemistry so long ago. Anyway, that's all we are. It's just an accumulation of, nitrogen and carbon and hydrogen and, all these things. That's all. Why do we think our body's so special? It's just that. So why not think of it dissolving into the elements and then becoming the material that we, that becomes whatever sentient beings need. Hmm? You imagine doing that, giving your body so you don't have your body anymore? We get freaked out, don't we? My body, my body. Yeah? Not yet, no questions now. But we get very freaked out. But, why? We're going to have to give up this body sometime, aren't we? Yeah? In any case, it's changing all the time, so why are we, we think of giving it up today. Oh, this body, But by tomorrow morning, something that we consider this body is coming out and getting flushed down the toilet. So what are we hanging on to? No, and once every 7 years, all the cells change. So what are we hanging on to here? May I be the basis of sustenance for limitless sentient beings, existing eternally for them like space. Yeah, so may I become the sustenance, what any living being needs in order to survive. May I become that. May I do that for sentient beings who are as numberless as, countless particles and who fill infinite space. In this way, just as all the realms of sentient beings are infinite like the expanse of the sky, may I become the basis for their sustenance until they all attain the state beyond sorrow. So until all sentient beings attain nirvana, may I become the basis for their sustenance. Yeah, and may I be joyful and happy doing this, and may I not even expect them to say thank you, or I love you, or you're the best one. Yeah. So it's a neat way to kind of change, just a way to train the mind, So when you're meditating on this, instead of thinking, oh, I can never think this way, just, imagine being able to think these ways, generate those thoughts. Imagine giving your body in this kind of way. I mean, we imagine all sorts of things, can't we? When we were kids, we imagined being and doing all sorts of things. When we get distracted in our meditation, we have a very good imagination, don't we? We can imagine so many things. So here, too, just use that imaginative ability, but to our benefit, to imagine, that we're really be able to, without any attachment, give our body to sentient beings and it becoming whatever it is that they need. And then let your mind be joyful thinking about this. Be a little kid again. Yeah, do you remember when you went to, I remember when I first went to Disneyland and they were playing It's a Small World, Small world after all. But, just this idea of, wow, maybe people can live together and be harmonious. Wouldn't that be cool? And may nobody suffer, and may I be able to do things so that nobody suffers. So it's kind of becoming like a kid again, but imagining that you're able to do that, but without any attachment. Yeah, and that it's not a childlike imagination, but it's cultivating a mind that becomes very strong to work for the benefit of sentient beings. And in the spiritual levels of the Bodhisattva, by a Sangha, the text called Bodhisattva Bhumi, it says, Bodhisattvas who have gone into solitude and have gathered their thoughts inwardly should purify their thoughts of selfishness, and from the bottom of their hearts, with sincere faith, should practice generosity out of their concern for all, imagining a limitless, huge, and expansive variety of things, as well as providing sentient beings with actual gifts. In doing so, a bodhisattva will expand her accumulations of merit limitlessly and with little hardship. This is the practice for bodhisattvas who are endowed with great intelligence. Okay? So they talk sometimes of bodhisattvas who have sharp faculties and bodhisattvas who have more modest faculties. So a bodhisattva with sharp faculties, practices in this way. Bodhisattva of more modest faculties, it takes them a while. Okay? But the sharp faculty bodhisattva goes into solitude, so they're in a retreat situation, or more specifically, they're in a meditation session. They don't have to necessarily lock themselves away from all sentient beings. They gather their thoughts inwardly, so they don't have distraction in meditation, and they purify their thoughts of selfishness, and then from the bottom of their hearts, with sincere faith, they practice generosity out of their concern for all. Okay, that's the motivation, out of concern for all. Not because of shoulds, not because of self-hatred, nothing like that, but because of concern for all. And how do they do it? Imagining a limitless, huge, and expansive variety of things. Okay, so you imagine huge things that you give to everybody, and as well providing sentient beings with actual gifts. So you don't just imagine everything, but when it comes to giving somebody something, you become stingy. Okay? But you do the part with the imagination so that when you have the actual opportunity to give, your mind doesn't have the stinginess and the giving becomes very, very free and automatic. Okay? And so in doing so, a bodhisattva will expand her accumulations of merit limitlessly and with little hardship. We're kind of lazy, aren't we? We want to do it with little hardship, limitlessly. This is the way. Okay? What a Sangha is teaching here can be explained in terms of giving to the inhabitants, who are the living beings, and giving to the environment, which beings inhabit. The first of these involves giving to those not engaged in this, giving to those who have not attained a spiritual path, and offering to those who have. So this is a mistranslation in the book. When it says, well, let's go back to the beginning. Okay, so what a Sangha is doing is explaining this in terms of one, giving to inhabitants who are living beings, and second, to the environment. So sometimes we hear the terms the support and the supported. Tendang Tempa in Tibetan. So the support is the environment and the supported is the sentient beings. Okay, so giving to both. And in terms of giving to the inhabitants, the various beings, okay, who aren't necessarily sentient beings, but all the inhabitants, then there's giving to those who have entered a spiritual path and giving to those who haven't. So beings who have entered a spiritual path are those who have attained the path of accumulation in any of the three vehicles. So the hearer, solitary, realizer, or bodhisattva vehicle. Okay? So, and then the beings who have attained those and the beings who haven't. So I don't know about you, but I haven't attained a path, so I'm in the first group. Yeah, people like His Holiness, they're in the second group. Okay, so we give to both of them, plus we give to their environment. So now the first section, giving to those who have not attained a spiritual path. We should first give our bodies to the beings in the 8 hot hells, such as the reviving hell. Okay, so here we get into it, we're thinking about all the realms of samsara and how these realms are created by our karma, and our karma is created by our mind. Okay, so these realms, in one way, they are related to the mind and they are mental states. In another way, when you're born in them, they're as real as our human realm is when we're born into it. Okay? People like to say, oh, these realms, they're just states of mind. But then they don't think of their present life as a state of mind. Because our present life is real. Well, when you're born as an animal or a hell being or a hungry ghost or even, one of these gods and sense pleasure deluxe, it's as real to you when you're born there as everything seems to us right now. Okay? But it's produced by our karma, which comes from our afflictions. Okay, so the beings in the 8 hot hells, such as the reviving hell, they have a footnote in here telling you the names of all the hot hells. Okay, the reviving hell, the black line hell. The reviving hell is where they kill you and then you're brought back to life to get killed again. The black line hell is where they scratch you with, burning iron and make black lines. The capturing and annihilation hell. Okay, the wailing, the great wailing, tells you what you're doing in those hells. The hot, the very hot, and the unceasing hells. Okay, so it's important when we think about the hells in Buddhism, these hells were not created by the Buddha. Repeat, they were not created by the Buddha. Okay, another thing, the Buddha does not punish you and send you there. Repeat, the Buddha does not punish you and send you there. Okay, we get born in any particular life due to our own actions. There's nobody managing the universe who causes us to be born anywhere. There's no rewards, there's no punishments. It's just that things are the product of our own actions. Okay, that's very important to remember here. But with compassion, we want to give to the beings who are born in these hells. So what do you give to a being born in one of these hells? Okay, well, it's one of the hot hells, so what's one of the first things you're going to give them? Cool. Okay, so you either give them showers or aircon or, you somehow cool the place off. Yeah, and just imagine, if you're in a very, very hot place, or imagine people who are in a burning building, how they must feel if the fire is put out. Yeah. One of my teachers, Geshe Sundar mentioned, just a few months ago, while he was in New Zealand, but his room at the library in Dharamsala burned because the monk in the room next door was cooking and something caught on fire and it whooshed through the building. Fortunately, Geshe Sundar mentioned wasn't there. But the monk whose room the fire started in died in the fire. Yeah. Then in India, they put bars on the windows to prevent the thieves from coming in, because I guess they think the danger of thieves is more than the danger of fire. But in this situation, he wound up dying in the fire. So, you just take that as an example or an analogy and then think, wow, if we could give something to the beings who are in the hot hells that would prevent them from that kind of fear and terror and physical pain, wouldn't that be wonderful? So we use our things that we're familiar with in this life just as analogies to get a sense of what goes on in other realms. Although what's happening in other realms is definitely more intense than what's happening here. Okay, so you would give them you would give them salves for their skin, wouldn't you? You would give them healing medicines. You would give them comfortable beds to lie in. You would give them encouragement. Yeah. So you think of how would you take care of somebody who was suffering from, being burned, and had the psychological trauma as well as the physical pain. So then you imagine transforming your body, possessions, and virtue into everything that they need and giving to them. Okay? Then to the beings in the 8 cold hells. So the 8 cold hells. Blistering, where it's so cold that you blister. That of bursting blisters. Okay, the sneezing, the coughing, the teeth grating, these are all the names of the hells. The shattering like a blue lotus, because it's so cold that it shatters, so a way a blue lotus shatters. The shattering like a red lotus, and the shattering like a gigantic lotus. These are the names of the hell realms. Okay? So it's so cold that that's what happens. So sometimes, when I think about these realms, I think about the physical sensations, but then sometimes I think of, imagine somebody who was so withdrawn inside themselves, so emotionally cold, so to speak, to themselves as well as to others, that they can't reach out, that they're imprisoned by their own coldness, their withdrawal, their depression. Or for the hot hells, somebody who is too hot emotionally, can't stand anything, who's always blowing up, So you can do it in a physical way, an emotional way, but in either way, you're giving to these beings whatever it is that they need to relieve their anguish, be it physical anguish or mental, emotional, spiritual anguish. And think that you give, but you give with a lot of joy and happiness, without a sense of loss for yourself, okay, without a sense of self-doubt. Am I doing good enough? Am I giving what they want? Maybe they don't like what I'm giving, Oh, maybe somebody's giving better. There's another bodhisattva that's giving them better stuff than me. I'm an inadequate even as a bodhisattva. Drop all of that, please, okay? And we just do the visualization of giving these things and imagining beings receiving them and being happy and fulfilled and feeling safe. Okay, then we should give to beings in the surrounding hells. So the surrounding hells, there's the hot hells and cold hells, and the surrounding hells are kind of around them. So the surrounding hells, there's the plane of fire, okay, a plane of fire, the putrid swamp. That one sounds lovely, doesn't it? Living in a putrid swamp. And the forest of knives, where the leaves are all knives, and so as animals and scary things chase you, so you try and climb up the trees to get away from them, but the knives face downwards and, not attack you, but injure you as you're climbing up. Then when the threatening thing, animal or whatever, has left, when you try and go down, the knives reverse, and now they're pointing up, and so you get scarred and injured as you're climbing down again. So those are the neighboring hells. So then we imagine also giving to the beings there. So what's the first thing we're going to do in those hell realms? Huh? Triple antibiotic ointment. How about cutting down the trees? Yeah. Okay. So whatever it is that they need to, to not live in that kind of environment. Or the putrid swamp, you would be the most perfect department of environmental. The EPA and Environmental Protection Agency, you would be the EPA that worked perfectly for the benefit of those sentient beings and curing that putrid swamp, okay? Okay, so this, just even imagining this, it's something, isn't it, Can you imagine yourself going and helping beings who live in a putrid swamp? Kind of yucky, isn't it? Yeah, but just even in our imagination to think, okay, I have the courage, just let's imagine it. Let's imagine doing this. And so just through the force of imagination, then someday, if that situation happens, we'll be able to do it without any fear. Okay? Okay, so then we should give to the beings in the surrounding hells and to the beings in the occasional hells. The occasional hells are where the suffering happens intermittently. So sometimes they suffer in the day, they're okay at night, or they suffer at night, but they're okay during the day. Okay, to these beings we should give whatever we can, transforming everything, just as an alchemical elixir changes iron into gold. We should imagine that those beings attain lives with the freedom and opportunity to practice the Dharma. Okay, so we not only take them out of their horrible physical and mental situation, but we imagine them being born in lives where they have the freedoms and fortunes of a precious human life, for example, or born in a pure land. We should think that they are enriched with the 7 jewels of the Aryas. Do you remember what those are? We talked about them in the 41 prayers of the Bodhisattva. Remember the 7 jewels of the Arya? Okay, faith, giving, ethical conduct, learning the teachings. Okay, I've got to get my cheat sheet. Integrity and consideration for others, and then wisdom. So we're not only freeing them from their horrible rebirths, they're giving them the conditions to practice the Dharma, and then we imagine that we can actually change and transform their minds so that they have these 7 qualities. And so wouldn't it be wonderful if all these beings who are suffering so much all of a sudden, had faith in the 3 jewels and in the law of cause and effect, if they were generous, if they had good ethical conduct, if they wanted to listen to teachings and have the opportunity to do so, if they had a sense of integrity and consideration for others that kept them from doing negative actions, if they had wisdom, wouldn't that be wonderful? So you imagine all these beings who are in a state of such suffering, all of a sudden, their environment's changed, but also who they are is changed. So they have so much more potential now. To these beings, we should give whatever we can, transforming everything. Okay, I read that already. We should think that they are enriched with the 7 jewels of an exalted being. So we just had that. As well as the 7 good qualities of high status. Okay, so the 7 good qualities of high status, this comes in the Lamrim section about karma. And they talk about 7 qualities that if you could have the perfect life, not just a regular precious human life with the 8 freedoms and 10 fortunes, but a really special one, that you would have these 7 other qualities. Okay, so these 7 are, where did I put them? Okay, long life. Okay, because if you have a long life, you can practice more, benefit others more. You have a magnificent form and a good personality, because that enables you to be of greater benefit if if you're physically attractive and if you have a pleasant personality. If you belong to a noble family, so you're high class, the idea being, remember, these are things coming out of an ancient culture, that if you are born in a high class, then you could be more influential. You also have access to a better education. Nowadays, we might, forget about nobility and high class, but, saying an opportunity to have a good education and to, have the conditions whereby you will be respected and listened to. Being prosperous and influential, so being born in a family that has wealth and influence. So you can see these things in and of themselves are not necessarily virtuous, and that having them does not necessarily make you a good person. But if you want to practice the Dharma and benefit beings, having these worldly conditions can be a benefit to you in order to, benefit others more. Being readily believed by others, so your speech is believed. Having great power, having a strong body, and having a courageous mind. Okay? So those are the 7 qualities of high status. Just as a precious wish-fulfilling jewel provides whatever we desire, such as food and clothing, So should we imagine that in giving away our bodies, they grant all wishes, manifest as food imbued with 100 flavors, clothing to the value of 1,000 golden coins, mansions with 500 floors, and excellent companions who act only as an inspiration, who are associated with enjoyment, who delight in the objects that are to be enjoyed, and who, surrounded by their possessions, are replete with everything. Okay? So we're trying to give people here everything that in our world is of temporary benefit. Okay? Food, clothing, riches, wealth, companions, but good companions, good companions. Okay, they also are to be imagined as being favorable factors for the accomplishment of the highest teachings of the great vehicle. Okay, so we're giving sentient beings not just temporal happiness for them to enjoy and use up the effects of their good karma with, but giving them these things and also imagining that they can then utilize these things in practicing the Dharma, and specifically the Mahayana Dharma. Okay, so we have time for a few questions, if you have any. No questions? Yeah.
I just have some, in terms of imagining, offering or giving. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in saying, oh, this is make-believe, and not really feeling it or anything, just kind of letting it be as make-believe. You imagine your body being given away or whatever, but it doesn't really give us a reality in meditation practice.
Right.
Do you have any suggestions for that?
Yeah. Okay, so when you're doing this kind of practice and it just seems like make-believe and it doesn't seem like real, yeah? So when it's just make-believe, then it's very easy to imagine giving your body away and having it become all these different things, isn't it? Yeah? And then making it, when we think of it becoming real, if we still have the minds of ordinary beings, then we get terrified. And we're like, oh, I don't want to give away my body. I've got to hang on to everything. This is mine. I've got to be okay. So both of those are not actually the way to do it. Yeah? So what you want to do is, before you do this meditation, make sure you meditate a lot about love and compassion and seeing the defects of the self-centered mind and the benefits of cherishing others, so that you have a really strong sense of that. And then do the thing where you exchange self and others and really think, okay, others are now me, and they're the most important ones, and so that you feel happy about this, and it feels to you like the right thing to do. Yeah. And then with that state of mind, then do the giving. Okay? Sometimes we just rush into the taking and giving meditation without the preparation, and then it either feels like make-believe or we get scared. But if we do the proper preparation and, really see kind of what is the state of mind that we're trying to get to, and get yourself there somewhat, even though it may not be, vivid, I'm a bodhisattva, but, you're getting your mind there to some extent, and then do the meditation. Okay? Yeah.
I have a question about and I think this is something that comes up a lot, but for example, when you let me be the land, or the island, what people call it, I can't remember the exact words. That idea of being walked all over in society is a very bad one.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's a wisdom element to that. You don't let people walk all over you to achieve anything. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, expound on that just a little bit more, about what it means to let people walk over you in a good way.
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about becoming a bridge or becoming the earth, it's, sentient beings are trotting on us, they're disregarding us, taking us for granted. And in normal life, nobody likes to be walked all over, and we're taught to not let ourselves get walked all over. And so your question is, how should we be thinking so that having people walk all over us is something okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you let people walk all over you for?
Okay, what do you let
do
people...
you let, if people need land to make war, do you provide the land to make war? Do you
Okay. Okay, so what do you let them walk all over you for? So in effect you're asking, what do you give? Do you give whatever somebody wants? Even if somebody wants land to make wars, if they want a bomb factory, do you provide a bomb factory? Yeah. If they want your wealth so they can become terrorists, do you give it to them? It's very important to combine compassion with wisdom. Okay? So there's very strict guidelines for who to give to, when to give, and what to give. So it's not a Pollyanna kind of, oh, you want a gun? Here, dear, it's fine. Oh, you want to abuse somebody? Sure, I'll be the one you can abuse. It's not like that, okay? There's definitely a wisdom element because our aim is to benefit sentient beings not only temporarily but in the long term. If we give somebody money so that they can use it for alcohol or drugs or weapons, is that benefiting them? It's not benefiting them, is it? They may want it, they may plead, they may cry, they may say, I need this so badly, but does giving that to them benefit them? No. Okay, is it generosity to give that to them? No, it's stupidity. Okay? So giving, in those cases, that's letting yourself get walked all over. Okay? When you give just without any element of wisdom. Yeah? So sometimes when we have to exert wisdom, we have to say no to people, and sometimes they don't like us after that. Yeah? But our aim is for their long-term benefit. Okay? What is talking about here when we're imagining becoming the earth and sentient beings walking all over us and so on, is that there's times when we can give, but because of our fear, because of our arrogance, because of our feeling of I'm me and everybody should respect me and nobody can take advantage of me and they have to treat me like this, that we don't give. So, these kind of examples of people, disregarding us are used to conquer that self-centered thought that is always proclaiming me, 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 me. Okay? Yeah? So the idea is not to make ourselves, again, the idea is not that you do this out of low self-esteem and let everybody take advantage of you. That's not generosity. It's stupidity. Yeah? So, when you're old enough to know the difference, then, when you're a little kid, you don't know anything. But when you're old enough as adults, then we use our wisdom, and when do we give what somebody asks and when don't we? Okay? Does that make some sense? Does that answer your question okay? Yeah? Mm-hmm.
Feedback right after that. Someone asked, as we practice this, will we be better at knowing what will actually benefit the individual?
Okay, so the question is, as we practice this, will we be better able to determine what will actually benefit people? That's the question? Yeah, sure. When we practice anything, we get better at discerning things. And through our life, actually, through our own life experience, we should really try and learn from our own mistakes. Because we've all made mistakes in giving to people, haven't we? When we thought we were being generous and then it backfired. So we should learn from our mistakes, not criticize ourselves, not tell ourselves we were stupid, but we should just, okay, I wasn't aware, I made a bad decision, now I know better, now I'm going to act in a better situation. So of course I think if we really try and learn from our experiences and learn from our mistakes, not beating ourselves up when we make them, but learning from them, then yes, we'll definitely improve and our ability to discern, what actually benefits somebody and what harms them. And this is also the reason, to develop this ability to discern what benefits others and what harms them. This is also one of the reasons why we want to develop samadhi and deep concentration, because when you have that kind of samadhi, then you can cultivate different clairvoyant powers by which you can know others' minds and understand their karma, and then you can really understand better with more wisdom what is actually going to be of the greatest benefit to others. Okay, so we have to end now, but try doing this meditation in the next week, okay?